Hello and welcome back to Harry Shoots People, and welcome to the second annual Film February. Viewers of the channel will already be aware what Film February is, but for those of you that don't know, over each of the 4 weeks of February I shoot a new film each week that I've never shot before, and we see what the results are like. This year's Film February spans across 3 different formats, 2 motion picture film stocks, and features 4 lovely models, along with yours truly. So, without any further ado, let's begin with week 1. Okay. Hello, and welcome back to Harry Shoots People. Once again, February's come around, which can only mean one thing: Film February. If you don't remember from last year, over the course of the 4 weeks of February, I decided to shoot a different film stock, one that I'd never shot before, each week, and see what I can make. And as you can tell, this week it snowed, so I thought we'd head into the forest and shoot some Kodak Vision Free 500T. So Kodak Vision Free 500T is respooled motion picture film. I've shot the Vision Free 250D before, and I was quite impressed with those results. And I thought, with the extra stop of light and basically shooting the tungsten balance film in the snow, hopefully it should lead to a really nice cool blue tone. So I just thought we'd load it into the Contax G1, take some pictures in the snow, and see what kind of results we can get. Let's go. Okay, so we ended up having to trim the end of the film tip, which wasn't ideal, had to kind of MacGyver it, but you know how we do. Gonna take one quick exposure now, just because I think I exposed maybe the first frame. So yeah, let's take a test one. Ready, 3, 2, 1. Yes. Okay. So for that shot there, we added a stop of overexposure as to counteract the whiteness of the snow. So hopefully that comes out nice. We really have no idea. It's different every time you shoot snow, especially with motion picture film that's tungsten balanced. We really don't know what we're going to get, but that's half the fun. You've got to stand like that.
Onwards.
Got it. Hi guys, it's me, Ansel Adams here, and this is my YouTube video. And what we're going to do now, guys, is just take the exact same picture, because the last time we just shot it on auto, but we're going to add a stop of exposure as to compare.
orange.
You're laughing at my posture again. Whilst in the forest, we came across this kind of half-fallen tree which had been covered by snow, and I thought it could make for a pretty cool composition. I don't normally shoot on a tripod, I prefer to shoot handheld, but I thought it could make for a nice change here and to sort of get a little bit more of like a definite composition going. Unfortunately though, I really don't think either of these two images are particularly strong. If I had to pick a favourite out of the two, it'd probably be the first one, but they both just ended up coming out pretty flat. The first half of this roll has kind of just been me taking pictures whenever and wherever, kind of just warming up as we walked through the woods. But once we reached our destination at the top of the woods, I really got into the groove. Our destination was this playing fields that was at the top of the woods, and it's kind of a little bit isolated, and since we were there fairly early in the morning after it snowed, I figured that it'd be pretty empty and the snow would be pretty untouched, so I thought it would make for some nice images. And thankfully, it did. Not before first covering my camera in snow though.
Oh, that doesn't work.
Oh shit. Oh, I've just covered that camera in Okay guys, so we've made it successfully to the playing fields. It's looking great, the snow's virtually untouched apart from Billy and Ollie, but hoping for some good pictures here. We're about halfway through the roll. I've shot the majority of it on that +1 exposure compensation, but I think now we might mix it up, maybe shoot some with the flash, take some nice pictures of the dogs, take some nice portraits of Maya, and maybe Maya will take some nice portraits of me. Anyway, let's go. Okay. 3, 2, 1. I started off by taking some portraits of Maya here, and I was using the flash to sort of counteract those cooler tones which I was expecting. So the final images here have a really nice balanced sort of cold background, warm subject look to them, which I like, and I think the flash pairs quite nicely with the natural light that was available too. Obviously, like in images like this, you can tell where I haven't used the flash and it's just solely natural light. And the lovely thing about shooting in the snow is that you get all of the light bouncing back up off that pure white. So your images are pretty evenly lit wherever you shoot them. I'm a really big fan of this image in particular. I really like how soft it is, and using only natural light, there is a hint of those cool blue undertones to the image. And I also really like the dogs in the background, both out of focus, but they kind of nicely ground the foreground subject. Scary.
How deep it is?
We've never seen it before.
I think so. Oh my god.
I really like this composition. Unfortunately though, with the G1 being sort of a rangefinder style camera, there is that slight amount of parallax distortion between the viewfinder and lens, and that's what resulted in this shot just being a tiny bit too far weighted to the right, as it was framed better in the viewfinder, with Maya being framed dead centre through this part of the goalpost, so I think just one more tiny step to the left would have balanced things out. That being said, still an interesting composition. I really like these two images of Maya here. I'm a big fan of the composition, and using the goalpost as part of the shot, especially in the second one, works really well. Yeah. I then let Maya take an image of me using the Vision 3, but I appear to be suffering from a momentary snow blindness, which kind of ruins the shot.
Thank you. Okay guys, I think we've got 2 shots left, so we'll take some more.
2 more, to be specific.
I really liked this composition with Maya against sort of the horizon, so I decided to take a couple images here. The first 2 unfortunately didn't really feel right, so I took a step back and shot this one, which I really love. I like how sharp and in focus it is, and it came out pretty much exactly how I was envisioning, which was really nice, and I really love the colours too. There's some really nice like purple tones going on in sort of the far background forest, which is a pretty cool touch. I really do wish that the G1 could be this sharp all the time, but it really just seems to decide when it wants to. As you've seen through the majority of this video, most of the images are just pretty soft, which I'm not particularly the biggest fan of. I am potentially in the process of looking at buying a G2 and upgrading. However, for the time being, I'll just have to stick to this maybe 1 out of 30 sharpness rate. And at this point, the frame counter was displaying 38, so we got a
Bonus shot!
I really love this image too. I think the flash and the sort of off-guard candid approach came out looking great. And now the frame counter was displaying at 41, and I immediately started panicking, thinking that I'd loaded the camera wrong and I hadn't taken shots this whole time and I'd basically wasted the day and the film. But it turns out that just because it's respooled, sometimes you get a little bit extra, so no cause for concern.
Okay, so the camera's re-rolling now, our 41 shots. Not exactly sure what's going to happen there, but it's all the way around. Probably something to do with what we did at the beginning. But yeah, overall very fun experience shooting it. Hopefully it all comes out nicely in the snow. We have no idea. And it's EC2N, so I'm going to have to wait 2 weeks anyway. Anyway, it's a very cold walk back home, so we're going to go do that now.
Okay, so how was Film February week 1 and how was the Kodak Vision 3 500T? Honestly, I was pretty surprised by the Vision 3. With it being motion picture film, I was expecting sort of more like unorthodox results. However, they turned out pretty consistent. I rarely use tungsten balanced films, so it was really nice to get to experiment with this one and also to not shoot it in tungsten balanced lighting either. That was pretty cool. I do enjoy shooting in the snow. I did it around this time last year. We shot some sort of expired slide film. I think it was like Fuji Provia or Velvia potentially in the snow last year in my RB67, and those came out great. But I do have to say, I think I'm slightly a bigger fan of this roll. I feel like it's a little bit, like I said earlier, a little bit more consistent, and also I like the nice mix of sort of landscape stuff and portrait stuff that we've got going on. I think of my favourite shots from the roll would probably have to be this orange runoff amidst the snow, and then maybe these 2 shots of Maya, and of course with this shot as an honourable mention. But like I said, overall I was pretty impressed with the film stock, and potentially it's one that I'd be down for shooting again in the future. But like I said, I'm a really big fan of these shots. Overall, I feel like it's gone really great, and I couldn't really ask for a better start to Film February. I did enjoy the Kodak Vision 3 250D that I shot a couple of years ago. That was also a great stock. So I'd definitely be down to shoot more Vision 3 500T in the future. Hello and welcome back to Harry Shoots People. So it's week 2 of Film February this week, and we're at my friend Harry's flat here to take some portraits of him. And this week we're shooting Cinestill XX negative on 120. XX negative is a black and white variable speed motion picture film, which means with the correct compensation you can virtually shoot it at any ISO. It's registered for a base ISO of 200 on daylight and 250 using tungsten. Not sure what we're going to shoot it at yet. We're going to see what the lighting conditions look like and then go from there. So yeah, let's load this into the Mamiya. I feel like I didn't do the best job of explaining the BWXX, so I'll tell you a little bit more about it now. So Cinestill's BWXX is a panchromatic black and white negative film that is based on Kodak Eastman's XX 5222 motion picture film stock. Speaking of the motion picture version of this film stock, The Lighthouse, Raging Bull, Schindler's List, Memento, Casino Royale and Kill Bill Volume 1 were all shot on it, all of which this YouTube video will be better than. Anyway, an additional feature of the film stock is the eponymous variable speed, which means you can rate it at anything between 200 and 1600 with the appropriate development compensation. I don't really understand what this means, because surely any film is a variable ISO if you have the appropriate development compensation. I don't know, I guess maybe I just don't understand it, or maybe it just means that it holds up better to being pushed and can be developed easier and still looks good. I'm not sure yet. Anyway, it's a pretty cool selling point, and it means you've got a lot more options of what to rate the film stock at when you're shooting it. So with all that being said, let's actually get down to shooting it. Okay, so for this first shot, we've decided to rate it at 200, and we're just going to take a portrait of Harry's face with sort of the light from the lamp beaming down. We're going to rate it at 400 instead. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so this first photo came out really nice. Really nice tones in both the blacks and the whites, and I really like the sort of spotlight effect going on in Harry's face as it sort of turns into shadows towards the other side of his face. Boom. First one done. Okay. Look a little bit more down. Yep. 3, 2. This second photo also came out really nice. I love how contrasty the film stock is, and it works really well to simplify the textures of the image and really makes you focus on the subject, which is really nice. I think if this image was shot on like a colour film stock, there's kind of slight variations and hues in the different colours of the like couch and its cushions could kind of distract from the subject. But here it's really nicely, like it all sort of fades away into shadow, and like you don't have as much like textural detail. So it leads your eye more towards the subject. For this next shot, we decided to switch things up and go into the kitchen, where there was a little bit more light, well, a lot more light, but we were very pushed for space, so that was kind of the trade-off. We still ended up shooting a full body portrait there, but I just don't think it's maybe as strong as some of the other images. Speaking of being pushed for space, I really liked the sort of angular lights that were coming in through the different various doors in the hallway. So I decided to pose Harry here in a little bit more of a deliberate and slightly more unconventional for me posing, but it came out really nice in the end. And I'm glad that it paid off, and I do like the shot, and maybe I'll be sort of going for a bit more outside the box for myself. Obviously, it's not particularly outside the box, but for the kind of photos that I normally take, which is normally just standing full body portraits, it's a bit more interesting. And also here, I think it works really, really well with sort of the light and the shadows. It creates different shapes within the lights and shadows, which is interesting. And I like all the sort of leading lines everywhere. That's pretty cool too. This image I really, really love. It came out really nice. Again, that nice shadow fall off, and I'm loving how crushed the blacks are in this stock and how it fades away into sort of complete shadow. This image could be a touch sharper, but the RB is a very heavy camera. Specifically when being held upside down by my arms, it seems to get even heavier. Okay, so we've just finished taking some portraits inside the house. I think we've got about 4 or maybe 5 shots left. So we're now going to head outside and we're going to take some more traditional sort of full body fashion editorial kind of ones with some nice new clothes that Harry's got from Japan. Let's go. Do a shot every time I put my thumbs up. So here you get to see the BWXX in a little bit more of a balanced daylight setup, and it's equally as nice. Definitely more reminiscent of HP5 when shot outside, but I'm still very impressed. I love these sort of full body portraits that you can take on the RB. Objectively though, some people might say it would be a little bit nicer if the image was actually in focus. Again, that slight focal distance being off comes back to haunt me again. I feel like I definitely sort of get a bit anxious and paranoid once I've locked in my focus, and I sort of end up like micro adjusting it, which just lends to it being off. So maybe I need to be a little bit more, have a bit more trust in my gut and the instinctual first feeling of, okay, it's in focus, and I just need to go from there.
Are you even recording?
Yeah, of course I'm recording. Okay, so for this next one, we're going to try something a bit sillier, a little bit goofy. We're going to try for Harry with the skeleton gloves sort of punching at the camera. A little bit like that one photo of Andre 3000, but way cooler. Anyway, let's give it a try and hope I don't break my camera. It's pretty, I think it should be fine. Right, okay, record. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. I really, really love how this image came out. It's pretty much exactly how I thought it'd be, which came out so cool. The motion is really, really nice without sort of being too confusing or distracting. And you can really clearly still make Harry out, so that doesn't take away too much from the background either. So yeah, definitely a favourite from this shoot. Sort of high risk, high reward. Nice, and that is all. Thank you. I hope we're in frame for that. Just look. So that, I think ladies and gentlemen, is a wrap. Yippee! Gonna go and drop this off now. Let them know that we shot at 400. Hopefully there's no issues. And yeah, I'll see you guys in about 10 days. Okay, so with week 2 of Film February done and dusted, what did I think of Cinestill BWXX? Honestly, really enjoyed it yet again. I just love how all the images came out, and it's quite surprising for me to like this high percentage of images on a roll, and I think that really speaks to how good this film is. I think it's just been a really nice showcase of what's possible with the film stock. We've had that sort of more direct and more intentional lamplight setup in the earlier images, and then gone to a little bit more of like a general and dispersed daylight light, and I think both work completely fine and came out really nice. And I think the images work equally well as both examples of the film stock and also just portraits that myself and Harry are both happy with. I think as well, it just goes to show how useful that variable ISO can be, as initially at the start of the shoot I intended on shooting at 200 ISO, but there wasn't enough light, so we pushed it up to 400, which granted is only one stop, but the images wouldn't have come out anywhere near as nice if I didn't have the option to push it that one stock and it still be equally as good, as if like you could show that to someone and say this is just a 400 ISO stock and they wouldn't say anything. Obviously, yeah, that's only pushing it one stop, but I feel like exponentially it just gets more and more impressive the higher ISO that you need. For example, pushing it from like 200 to 800 and it's still looking fine would be great. So I guess I can eat my words from the start of this video. I think my personal favourite images from this shoot would have to be the aforementioned punching shot, and then maybe also the second picture of Harry's head laying on the couches. I really like that one. So with all that being said, another successful week, film February, and I'll definitely be shooting Cinestill's BWXX in the future. Hello and welcome back to Harry Shoots People, and welcome to week 3 of film February. We're here with friend of the channel and photographer Joe Griffiths, and we're going to shoot some Polaroid 600 speed black and white film today. Pretty exciting, only ever shot colour Polaroid, so we're just going to take some portraits and see what we can make of it. We have 2 Polaroid cameras today, because they've been breaking a little bit recently, so hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, let's get the black and white loaded up. Okay, so now the black and white's loaded up, what we're going to do here is take a nice portrait of Joe with the natural light as sort of the fill light, and then Joe will be completely shadowed out, and then we'll see how the first shot of the black and white came out looking. Whoa, it's blue! You can't see, but
so aggressive.
Immediately put that in darkness. Okay, big reveal, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, that's kind of wicked. That's kind of sick. I mean, it's turned out blurry and blown out as hell, but it's pretty cool.
And I did kickflip. Frame.
So this is our first shot. This actually came out looking pretty cool. So, like I was saying, we were both really impressed by how this first shot came out. I think the sort of like really overexposed backdrop came out really nice, and it gives it this sort of hazy white, sort of heavenly glow, or like a sea of brightness look to it, which I really enjoy. It also kind of reminds me of, it's kind of got like an Ingmar Bergman sort of vibe to it, which I'm also a really big fan of. And I think that nice sort of hazy contrast also works really well. So yeah, I was really happy with this first image, and we're off to a super nice start.
So with this second portrait here, we're going to take one with the flash and see how that turns out. So let's do that now. Okay. It's Arronte. So yeah, you can see that it's blue. That's pretty cool. No, then this way, and then get it with your black. She's crouched a little bit.
When we do this,
Great. And these next two came out unbelievably. I got pretty worried doing this shoot because for the last couple of months I've been working on a video about David Hockney's Polaroid work, sort of recreating it as my own. And the pack of film that I bought just seemed to come out completely muddy, fuzzy, like hazy. So I was worried that this camera and also the one I bought from Jimmy, both of them were broken or there was something wrong with mold or fungus in the lens. So it's nice that these have that sharpness and are showing that they're not broken. It was in fact just a bad pack of film. But yeah, like I said, came out really, really nice. With the flash on, you actually get a really, really nice sharpness and a nice level of detail too. And so far, I'm really impressed with the film just off these 3 shots. It's nice, it's sharp, it's contrasty, and it has a very different look to how you would normally expect a Polaroid to look too, which I like. So here are the 2 shots that we just shot. They came out really, really sharp, and the film is really nice. We've still got 5 shots to go. We'll probably shoot a couple more with a flash. Maybe get a little bit more experimental like this one. Let's go. Okay. Unfortunately for this shot, there really just wasn't enough light. I didn't actually know what the shutter speed of the camera was because it doesn't say, it's just flash or no flash. But unfortunately, it didn't come out exactly how I'd envisioned. It's a pretty dim image. You can sort of make out Joe in the midst of it, which is kind of cool, but I just would have liked a little bit more light. However, with this next shot, I decided to use that lack of light to my advantage, as obviously we knew about 10 minutes after the Polaroids were done what they were looking like, and that's the benefit. We could see and sort of work with that in real time, and it's a good thing that technology hasn't been invented yet for you to look at your shots in real time. There's no way to do that. So yeah, we decided to use the lack of light to our advantage and go for like a slow shutter blurred portrait.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's pretty nifty. So the slow shutter speed sort of captures the ambience really nicely.
That is good.
Yeah, that's...
I need a Polaroid. If anyone wants to donate.
Yeah,
Hopefully
that's the
my
one.
hand was moving then.
So with 2 shots left on the roll, we decided to head outside and see what kind of inspiration struck. Unfortunately though, this is probably the weakest of the images that day. I do kind of like the flash, like the full frontal flash shooting outside and sort of completely overexposing the highlights in Joe's face, so it's just sort of one tone. But it's just not as strong as the other images, which is okay. Okay, so for this last shot, we've got Joe against the brick wall, and we're going to get him to jump, and hopefully it'll come out nice. And it did come out pretty nice, in my opinion. Once again, really big fan of the sort of blown out whites in the image, and it's sort of taken in this sort of weird negative space. Like, you can't exactly tell
where the photo's been taken, which I also kind of like, and that little bit of motion too. That's also kind of nice. So after all the fun was over, we headed back to Joe's and scanned in all the Polaroids.
So Joe, are you happy with today's shoot?
Yeah.
That's good.
I've never been shot on Polaroid before.
There's a first time for everything. 8 times actually, to be specific. What's your favourite shot from the day?
That one.
Nice. It looks just like you.
So, with week 3 of Film February over, what did I think of the Polaroid black and white 600 speed film? Honestly, once again, I'm pretty impressed. I was so impressed by how sharp and clear the images came out, especially given how with Polaroid it's normally a little bit muddy, it's normally a little bit like not the highest quality images, but these came out great. I think obviously it's a lot easier to see the contrast on black and white film, but they just came out so sort of crisp and they look even better in person. I did have to adjust the scan slightly to get them darker and like try and get them as rich as they are in person, but I think I did a pretty good job. Also, I guess the benefit with Polaroid is I've now got these. But yeah, maybe the added little bit of contrast is what gives it that sort of more refined look, even though it's virtually the same kind of chemistry as the colour Polaroid sheets. So obviously we shot all of this on the Polaroid 600 land camera, but there's so many different models out there in terms of like you could use an Instax, you could use the SX70, you could use whatever other variation they make that's £200. But I think this did a pretty good job. Unfortunately, the one downside to Polaroid photography at the minute is just how expensive it is. I think I paid roughly £25 or so for this pack, which makes each of the 8 images £3 each, which is just kind of insane. So I'd be pretty happy to shoot more of it if they could lower the cost just a tiny bit, or a lot, ideally. I think strangely my favourite is this first image that we took. I don't know, something about it just came out so nice. Obviously, as you can see there, it is just a touch darker in real life, which also makes it nice. And also, my second favourite is this one, which is conveniently Joe's favourite. So, overall, I think another successful week of Film February. Really, really happy with how it's going so far. Very excited to see what comes in the next week. Hello, and welcome back to Harry Shoots People, and this week it's week 4 of Film February. We're at my friend Adam's house and we're shooting Lucky C200, a recently revived film stock out of Asia. Lucky C200 is a brand new 35mm colour film stock that has recently been revived by the company Lucky. And today we're going to be shooting portraits of my friend Adam in and around his house for the final week of Film February. We've got the Contax 139Q today, so we'll get that loaded up and then start shooting. Okay, so first we're going to take some pictures of Adam sat in the seat here. We've got the nice lighting coming in from the side and the shadows on the other side of the face. So we'll see how the Lucky C200 holds up. Nice. That's a good one. And I wasn't wrong though, this first shot came out pretty nice, even with that light leak across it. And the second shot was pretty good too. I was pretty impressed so far, even off the back of just these first 2 shots. From the sample images that I've seen of the Lucky C200, it seemed a bit sort of patchy and underexposed in places, but it's going well so far. And for this second one here, we're going to meter for the light coming in
from behind Adam, and hopefully that'll create a nice backlit subject similar to the one that we did of Joe in the week 3.
To be honest though, I really don't see much difference at all between these two images. I think the C200 held up pretty well, even in the darker parts of the second image. It doesn't have the most latitude in the world, and it does get a bit grainy and a bit fuzzy in the shadows on that second picture, but still held up fairly well. This shot ended up coming out so nice. The sunlight coming through the window and catching on Adam just came out so gorgeously. I think for me, this stock is landing somewhere between gold and ultramax. It sort of seems to have the tones of gold with sort of the rendering, like the colour rendering of ultramax. That's kind of what I'm picking up on so far. At least I could be way off the mark there, but that's what I'm feeling so far.
Okay, so now we're going to take a couple more outside in the sun. As the sun's shining, really make the most out of that 200 speed. We've just taken a full body portrait of Adam in his doorway, and now I kind of want to do a backlit one with the sun straight behind his head. So let's do that. Okay, so immediately after taking a couple in the garden, the sun has just completely gone out. So I think we're going to do another outfit change, take some more interior ones, potentially on the sofa. We're on shot number 13, so about a third of the way through. It's going well so far. 200 speed is a little bit limiting, but we're seeing what we can do. Trying to get some interesting compositions with the light, maybe get a little bit more like experimental. We've got a flash unit, so we might use that. Let's go.
Adam was ironing his vest at this point for the next look, and I took this next shot very candidly whilst he was ironing, and I love it. I really like the steam coming off the iron, and just sort of the general sort of offhand feel to the whole image came out really nice. I do wish that I got a little bit less shadows on his back, as they're just sort of, I guess he becomes the subject of the scene there, and it's not nice having it all shadowed out like that. That is one thing though, with it being a 200 speed film, it was a little bit difficult at points, especially in the kitchen, to get enough light. So for a lot of the shots in the kitchen, it had to be backlit, which wasn't ideal, but came out looking pretty nice at times. Maybe I could have sort of intentionally shadowed Adam out a bit more, and then it wouldn't have this sort of middle ground look to it, which I'm not as big a fan of, but it's all a learning experience. And also 200 speed film in February, what are you gonna do?
Doesn't look like shit. Okay, 200 speed, F16.
I like both of these shots. I am slightly leaning more towards the one with the flash, as it's just a touch sharper than the other one, but like I say, big fan of both.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
Unfortunately though, for this shot here, I definitely must have got my aperture wrong or something like that, because the flash just didn't fire properly and the image came out a little bit odd. Granted, it wasn't going to be the greatest image ever. I was pressed fully up against the wall and just barely getting the whole of Adam in. Would have been nice to shoot this with like a 28 or maybe even a 35, something like that.
Nice. Nah. Oh, okay. Did you want to change? Yeah, okay, I'll put something else. Okay guys, shot 18, halfway through now. Adam's going to change again. I think he's putting on shirt and tie, which will look quite nice and formal, and yeah, just see what other compositions we can get.
This shot I really like. It was a bit difficult having to shoot on such small apertures to let as much light in as possible, but I feel like it did quite nicely with this shot here. The critical focus is a tiny bit off, but it still works as an image. And I like the amount of separation between the subject and the background without them being too far apart. It's quite a nice medium ground separation between the two. Have you seen that one picture of Stanley Kubrick and Jack Nicholson on the set of The Shining?
No, well I probably have. But...
It's the one where it's Stanley Kubrick and his daughter, and it's a photo of Jack Nicholson,
yeah.
but there's a big mirror behind. So Jack Nicholson's posing, but it's a picture of.
Yeah.
It's really cool. So that's where we've stolen that from, guys. Okay, so the next type of shot that we're going to go for is we're going to do a double exposure of a picture of the flowers and then potentially a portrait of Adam, a close-up maybe of his face. Hopefully come out quite cool, a little bit more experimental, see how the colours render. Okay. Oh, you...
Wow.
I just took the picture and didn't wind it on. Okay, I did mess up slightly with this image here by taking the image and immediately winding on instead of holding the frame, but wasn't a mistake at all because the image actually came out really nice. I really love all of the colours and the way the flowers just sort of fill up the entire frame with that harsh flash. I guess every cloud, but here's what the multiple exposure actually came out looking like. And it's really nice. I wish I'd shot the flowers portrait as well, but I also kind of enjoyed the mix of the two in one image. I definitely could have been a bit more deliberate in terms of my lighting on the flowers and then sort of composing it in a way that it fills up Adam's face rather than just two images overlaid completely over each other. But it was a spur of the moment thing and I'm still happy with it, so it works. Yep, that's the one.
Oh, should we get a photo with the rabbit?
Yeah, go on then.
Oh, hello. You're such a messy boy.
Okay, now we're gonna take a portrait with Adam and his rabbit. Does the rabbit have a name?
Ralphie.
Ralphie the rabbit.
Ralphie, my boy.
Oh my gosh, this is close.
His nails are quite long actually.
It just looks like he's been held hostage completely. Unfortunately though, towards the end here, we started to have a couple more issues with my flash. I don't know whether I was metering wrong and my aperture was just off, or the flash was sort of just running out of power but still firing. So a lot of these images are underexposed and it doesn't seem like the C200 holds up that well either to underexposure. So really not ideal.
could be the end of the video. Okay, and now with the last couple of shots, the portrait shots in the bedroom, that's the roll finished. So we're going to unwind this, take it down to J&A, get them developed, and I'll see you guys in a couple of days. So, with week 4 of Film February finished, what did I think of the lucky C200? Honestly, I'm pretty surprised. Like I said at the start of this video, the sample images that I'd seen were a bit sort of lackluster, a little bit patchy and underexposed in places. But I feel like these images are pretty solid. I feel like they did a good job. I definitely think it struggles when the exposures are just a touch off, and I don't think it has the greatest amount of latitude. But for the price point and a new 35mm film stock, can't really complain. Compared to the rest of Film February, I don't think it holds up as well as some of the other rolls we've shot, but I've got another roll of the 35mm and I'm looking forward to buying it on 122 if I can get my hands on it and shooting at medium format. But that'll be for a video coming soon. I think my favourite image from this roll is probably the shot of Adam where he's sat on the kitchen counter with those golden rays of sunshine coming in. In second place, we have the image of the flowers with the flash, and then following closely behind, in third place, we have the double exposure. So, and with that wraps up Film February 26. It's been a fun one this year. It's been nice to have a lot more time to prepare what sort of stocks I'm going to shoot, who I want to shoot, and sort of work it out this time, because last time it was very last minute. I think I came up with the idea during the first week of February. So it was nice to sort of plan it out a little bit more. It's been a pretty intense couple of months for myself and the Harry Shoots People YouTube channel, releasing Monochromous, 100 Rolls Part 2, and Film February all over the course of 3 months. It's been quite intense, and Premiere Pro has certainly been working overtime, but as much as I've enjoyed this, I'm very much looking forward to returning to the bi-weekly uploads, just for a little bit. Anyway, with all that rambling being said, I think it's time that we crown the winner of this year's Film February. Last year's winner, if memory serves, was the double film Pacific 200, so it's now time to see them pass the torch on. In fourth place, we have week 4 with Lucky C200, a stock I was pleasantly surprised by and still am looking forward to shooting more of, but unfortunately there was some pretty stiff competition this year with the other stocks that I shot and it just didn't hold up. In third place, we have week number 3 with Kodak Vision 3 500T. Another film I was really impressed by, and the results were really good. But unfortunately, I was just expecting a little bit more out of the film. Like I said before about those cool blue tones, I was expecting the film to be a little bit more sort of weird, a little bit more tungsten-y, and it just wasn't. No shame to the film, of course. It's just in Film February. It's got to be a bit cutthroat. And in second place, we have week 3's Polaroid black and white 600 speed film. A really nice change of pace, a really nice, sharp, contrasty, instant film format that kind of blew me away, to be honest. And that leaves week 2's Cinestills BWXX to take the crown as the official winner of this year's Film February. Just a really nice, sharp, contrasty film stock. Really nice to shoot on medium format. Really impressed with all of the results. And with that added factor of the variable ISO, it just leaves it with taking the crown for this year. And yes, Harry, if you're watching, that does mean that you've won Film February 2 years in a row. But what did you guys think? Please let me know your thoughts and your rankings in the comments below, and we'll see what you guys thought about it. Once again, it's been really nice to challenge myself to do this and to sort of pick up and shoot stocks that I wouldn't normally have even considered, and to sort of experiment in a little bit of a different way too, which has been really nice. I'm already looking forward to shooting something next year, and I'm already starting to plan what Film February is going to be.
Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, drop it a like, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you'd like to see more of my photography, please consider subscribing. Thank you for watching.